Hi everyone, welcome to another video. Today, as promised, I have a very exciting new book release to share with you. This is the Modern Watercolor Workshop, a book full of tutorials to teach you how to paint geometric shapes, floral designs, and many other repeat patterns. So this is going to be released on the 28th of December here in Europe. And I had contacted the publisher to get a copy before the release so I could share with you. I thought it was an interesting idea, and they very kindly offered me this lovely book here to share with you. So let's start. First of all, I was super excited to see here in the cover some folk art. I love folk art. So as soon as I saw that and patterns, I really love patterns and watercolor, so I was interested by the contents of the book. This has beautiful end pages which are based on the patterns in the book. You can see they're hand painted, and here you have a preview of all the patterns that you'll be learning throughout the book. So you have a lovely mix of wet on wet, wet on dry, a bit more free-flowing patterns like these ones, some patterns using masking fluid, some use grids like these ones. This is the author. I'm gonna share again her name here because I don't think I can pronounce it correctly. So yeah, this is her, and I have to tell you guys, I was surprised that this book is quite substantial. Look at this, there's a lot of info over here, and has lovely pages with good quality paper, very nice photos. So a really lovely book overall. So it has a bit of introduction about the author, about the watercolors, how to follow the book tutorials, and then we get to tools and supplies. That is usually a session very common in watercolor books. Some tips about paper, paints, brushes, creating an idea workspace. Look how beautiful this is, full of inspiring images. Here she'll talk a little bit about techniques, so how to fill large areas and working with round brushes precisely, flat brushes. You have a comparison between the different types of brushes over here as well. So overall, a very beginner-friendly book. Here she talks a little bit about the paper sizes as well, which is very interesting. Then on the techniques, wet on dry, blending, how to create a flat wash, a graded wash, variegated wash with different colors. There's a little bit of color theory as well, which is always helpful. And it's nice that she uses watercolors here for the color wheel. Sometimes you see the color wheel with printed colors, but it's very useful to see it with watercolors. So you can see, for example, here, because she uses primary red instead of magenta, you get a very muted sort of violets. And here she's talking a little bit of color schemes, so monochromatic, complementary, split complementary, which is also interesting and useful because she talks about the color schemes, and she puts here the images of the tutorials in the book that use this exact color scheme. So it's a good example of how to put in practice this color theory knowledge. And you can always replace them, you know. Here she uses the analogous color scheme with purples and blue. You can do the same with greens and yellow, or red and oranges. You know, you can create multiple artworks using the same tutorial. So here she has her color palettes, the colors that she uses, which here are Memory Blue. And by the way, I have a video where I shared some Memory Blue colors that I got, so I'm gonna link this here if you're interested in seeing how these paints behave. They're very lovely to work with. And here we start with the tutorials themselves, the patterns. You have Playful Bubbles, very organic pattern, mix of wet on wet, wet on dry. Really easy going to start with. And you can see that she starts with the colors that she uses for this artwork. Then you have a practice page where she teaches you how to practice the technique used along the pattern. Once you have practiced, then you get into the tutorial itself with all the steps, and each step has the corresponding photo, the instructions, so everything is very well explained, very well detailed. Here we have another one. This is Ethereal Half Moons with the analogous color scheme. And yeah, same thing, you have the practice page. And something I forgot to mention also is that before the pattern tutorial, there's a little explanation about the inspiration behind this pattern. So here you see the inspiration is the moon phases and the colors in the picture. So this pattern, for example, uses a grid. So here there's all the instructions of how to draw this grid, the measurements, and then how to build the pattern using the grid. I followed some of these tutorials. I'm gonna share with you the results after I show you the book. You have this beautiful one also that is type of an Asian inspired pattern. It's called Shippo Tsunagi or Tsunagi, and it has also some metallic watercolor accents. So you have the practice first. This is a bit more complex than the previous one, so you have 2 pages for the practice, and then she teaches you how to draw the grid to build the pattern with instructions and detailed photos, same as the previous ones. You have this one, Fields from Above, another grid-based pattern. This one, I believe, is with tape. Yes, she uses very thin washi tape to create this effect. So overall, there's a lot of different techniques to use to build these patterns, and they are interesting in themselves. And I really had a lot of fun following the tutorials of the book. This one, I found it very lovely, Diamond Trellis. I think this is also one with a grid. Yes, very fun to work on. Fun thing about this book I found is that the final result looks very complex, and at the beginning you think it will take you a long time or it will be difficult to produce. But if you follow the instructions and the practice, after a while it becomes kind of second nature, and then it's just repetition. So it's a very meditative approach as well. That's why in the book is mentioned about calm approach to watercolor. I also worked on this one, was very interesting to do. This one was also very lovely. Amber squares using different tones of earth colors, but you could use any color you wish. This can be replicated in many different ways, and these are lovely ideas also to use as backgrounds, or if you like collage, greeting cards. There's an infinity of possibilities. Look at this one, how lovely it is with all the bunting. This uses a bit of mixed media. You see here white gouache. All of them follow the same structure, really. You have the practice piece, and then you have the tutorial itself. and I hope the lighting is okay. It's getting dark earlier and earlier now, so I'm running out of time to record, unfortunately. I'm really looking forward to trying this pattern here. It looks very, very nice, very organic. It reminds me of these fabrics, actually. I think this must be a Japanese technique for fabrics. It's written here, inspirations Japanese tie-dye. So you see here the fabrics that inspired the technique. And I think this is really nice for a greeting card or even for artwork for your walls. Here you can see she put it on a white frame. It looks really nice and very easy to do. You can see here all the details. Indian bandani, so also another technique inspired by fabrics. You have here the inspiration. Look how detailed it can be, and it can look really nice with different colors there, with variegated wash. Indonesian ikat, also another one inspired by fabric. I think this is what also attracted me about this book, because I'm really interested in fabric patterns. They always catch my eye when I'm in museums or even when I'm shopping. I love the different patterns, so being able to reproduce those on paper using watercolors, I think, is a lovely exercise. This one a bit more organic with leaves, and the final result is really lovely. We have also florals. The one that caught my eye in the cover, folk florals. Absolutely love folk art, so this is really up my alley, if I can say so. Very nice, very colorful, very bright. Same here, you have boho skies, and this she's using muted color palette, but you can experiment with different. You can even do this monochromatic, and it will be really nice and interesting because there's many different visuals. And you have the inspiration here, the rainbow. Little fish, this is also very lovely with white gouache details on top. Very simple color palette, using wet on wet techniques as well. I know I'm gonna love doing this. You may have heard before, but I love painting fish, so that's really interesting to me. You have fruits, and you can see that as the book progresses, they start getting a bit more advanced. Here, this one, for example, has lots of different colors and different visuals, but all of them very feasible following the tutorials. You see here you learn how to paint each fruit separately before going into the pattern itself. And then here you have the pattern. You have a string of hearts. This is also using an analogous pattern of reds and purples. This is a bit more simple. Would be lovely for a background of a Valentine's card, for example. Autumn, same principle. You have the practice of the different elements. Followed by the composition itself. Christmas ornaments with golden watercolor accents. Could work well for greeting cards as well. So here you have it. This was Modern Watercolor Workshop, a lovely book full of tutorials of geometric, floral and other repeat patterns to paint. And one thing I forgot to mention at the beginning of the book is that you have also printable line works that come with this book. There's a web address, and then you can go there and find all of the designs that are here in the tutorials, and then you can print them to practice or to use at a starting point to do your compositions. So it's also a lovely touch for those of you that want to get straight into painting and skip the drawing part. I really love this book. Now I'm going to share with you some of the patterns that I created based on the tutorials. So I have this one here that was inspired by aerial views of landscapes. This was the first one of the book, based on just letting colors mix and match, wet on wet and wet on dry. This one was very fun. It looked very challenging at the beginning, but as I got the gist of it, it just flew. So lovely results. You can use different color schemes for that as well. Same for this one. I used the grid based on the tutorial instructions. Very fun to work, very meditative exercise. This trellis that I think is the same as the end paper. Yeah, similar to the end paper. This one here with the metallic accents. Hope you can see. Very interesting as well. The amber squares, lovely simple pattern. And this birthday bunting that was also very joyful and colorful. And this was the last one that I did. I started another one with the hexagons. I haven't had the chance to finish it, but this was my experience with the book so far. I really look forward to finishing all of the other tutorials in the book. Like I said, they were really fun to follow, simple and straight to the point, and I think this will be great for beginners or intermediate artists alike, because there's different levels of difficulty, and you can also use as an inspiration point to create other pieces from it. So I hope you enjoyed this book review. I thank Schiffer Publishing for sending me this copy beforehand so I could share with you. And if you like this video, please remember to give me that thumbs up and subscribe if you'd like to see more, and I'll be seeing you soon. Bye!